Hello, and welcome to the workshop about supporting the job search for students with disabilities and students that are neurodivergent. Whether it is you that identifies as a student with a disability or a student that is neurodivergent, or you are supporting the efforts of someone with a disability or someone that is neurodivergent, these are some really helpful steps to help everybody succeed. In my experience, employers are willing to hire people that are neurodivergent and also those with disabilities, but often they just don't understand how to support them in the proper way. By going through these steps and offering the employer solutions on how to support you is a great way to ensure that everybody wins. First, I want to highlight the AODA, which is the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. The employment standard of the AODA requires employers to make their workplace practices accessible to both potential or current workers with disabilities. Under the standard, an employer refers to the organization that employs a person. I do ask that you become familiar with this act. There's a lot of really good information on asking for accommodations, how to do so, ensuring that your rights are respected while asking for accommodations, what an employer does and does not have to accommodate. The list is endless. So I do encourage you to check out this act and become familiar with it or be able to refer back to it if the need arises. So step one is about identifying both strengths and barriers. Discussing strengths. When somebody is job searching, this is always best practice. You always want to have an idea of what your strengths are and how you can positively contribute to a potential team that you wish to join. So, for example, the strength could be customer service. Coming up with an example of you using this strength will definitely set you apart from the competition. So, for example, you could say, in my part-time job, I served customers and gave them excellent service, which could be an example of external customers. Or during my co-op term, I coordinated with other departments on projects, which could be an example of internal customers. So pick a strength and think about how you've demonstrated the use of this strength in the past. Highlighting strengths will allow the employer to see what skills that you can contribute to the team. The second part of this is identifying barriers, because identifying barriers will help you to brainstorm ideas on how an employer can offer accommodations if required. So knowledge is definitely power in this situation. As I said, in my experience, employers are definitely willing to consider hiring students with disabilities and or students that are neurodivergent. Sometimes they just don't know how. And I find employers really are willing to do this if they know how to support you properly. So by knowing what your barriers are and knowing some ways that you can accommodate yourself definitely goes a long way to having that conversation with the employer. So for example, maybe you had an IEP in school, or maybe you had an education assistant in school, or experiences frequent sensory overwhelm, or maybe you just have different sensory issues that have become a barrier in the past. Maybe you have difficulties in social situations or difficulties with concentration. Do you use assistive technology? Difficulties sitting still for extended periods of time? Difficulties accepting feedback? Difficulties with interpreting unspoken feedback or vague criticism? Difficulties advocating for themselves? Difficulties working alone? Difficulties working in a team or in a group? Do you need a structured environment? Do you learn well in a virtual environment? This is not an exhaustive list. This is just really a list to help get you started. So think back to your experiences with either other jobs, volunteer activities, or in school, and ask yourself, what are some of those barriers that have in the past prevented you from being the very best that you could be? That will give you an idea of where to start. And by starting to think about how have you overcome them or what accommodations were created for you to allow you to be the very best that you can be. Because again, asking for accommodations is not about asking an employer for you to do less. It's asking the employer to provide you with some sort of equitable solution in order for you to be the very best that you can be for their team. So part two is brainstorming to address those barriers. So, for example, maybe your barrier is a sensory issue with noise, and maybe that solution for success could be wearing noise canceling headphones. Refer back to that identifying barrier slide. And again, look at those things that you answered yes to and start brainstorming ways that either you have overcome things like that or that you've managed to work with those barriers with some accommodations. That is going to be your roadmap to success. Step 3 is about discussing disclosure. Disclosure is a big topic and it is your own private information. So you absolutely have a right to choose not to disclose or choose to disclose when and where. Each option does have benefits and risks. Deciding whether to disclose your disability is a very personal choice and absolutely depends on your comfort level, the nature of your disability, and your workplace environment. But if you do need accommodations, disclosure is often necessary to ensure that you receive the support you need. Again, accommodations is about offering an equitable solution to ensure that you are going to be the very best that you can be. So we'll start with full disclosure. So full disclosure means sharing complete information about your disability with your employer. This includes details about how the disability affects your work and any accommodations that you might need. So some of the benefits of full disclosure may include access to accommodations. Employers are legally required to provide reasonable accommodations under the AODA if they are aware of your disability. Legal protection. Full disclosure can protect you from discrimination and ensure that your rights are upheld. Open communication. It fosters a transparent relationship with your employer, which can lead to better support and understanding. The second type of disclosure is partial disclosure. Partial disclosure involves sharing limited information about your disability. You might choose to disclose only the aspects that directly impact your job performance or the accommodations that you need. The benefits of partial disclosure can include privacy. You do maintain some level of privacy while still accessing necessary accommodations. Focus support. Employers can provide targeted accommodations without knowing or needing to know all of the details of your disability. And the flexibility, because you can choose when and how much to disclose based on your comfort level and the situation. You may potentially find a job where your disability and your barriers are not being impacted by that type of employment. So you may choose only to share the types of accommodations you need depending on the barriers presented in that particular situation. You can also choose not to disclose in any way, shape, or form. No disclosure means not sharing any information about your disability with your employer. Benefits and risks include privacy. You do keep your disability completely private. It also means you don't have access to accommodations because without disclosure, you won't be able to request accommodations, which might affect your job performance. It won't allow you to be the very best that you can be. Some of the potential risks of not disclosing, if your disability does impact your work and you haven't disclosed it, you may face challenges or misunderstandings with your employer. But again, you have the absolute right to choose to disclose if you wish and how much to disclose if you choose to. When to disclose. When is the right time to disclose? If you require accommodations during the interview process, you may actually choose to disclose it ahead of time in either a cover letter or during a pre-screen conversation. If you don't require accommodations during the interview process, you may choose to disclose either in the interview process, depending on what the barriers are, or once you receive an offer of employment. Step 4 is how to disclose. Some examples of full disclosure versus partial disclosure. So an example of a full disclosure would sound like this. My strengths include organization skills, a diploma in the name of the program, and the ability to provide excellent customer service. As a person with autism, this means I have differences in social communication and sensory processing. Sometimes I might need extra time to process information or prefer quieter environments for me to perform my best for your organization. An example of a partial disclosure in the same situation could sound like my strengths include organization skills, a diploma in the name of the program, and the ability to provide excellent customer service. In my previous roles, I found it helpful to have extra time to process information and having permission to wear noise canceling headphones while doing computer work. So both the example of full disclosure and partial disclosure, they both highlight the differences and they both highlight the strengths of the student. The full disclosure talks about autism and talks about how that can impact some of their social communication and sensory processing. And then it goes on to talk about some of the accommodations where they might need extra time to process information or prefer quiet environments for them to perform their best. Where with the partial disclosure, they don't name the barrier or disability of autism. They focus again on the strengths, but they also focus on the fact that in previous roles, they found some accommodations to be helpful to do their best for their organization without naming the actual barrier. And then step 5 is some tips and tricks for the interview process. So step 1 is to look at that job description that they found and highlight the qualities that you have or the duties that you can do without accommodations. Then you come up with examples of when you have demonstrated the qualities or duties that the job description is asked for. Step 2 of that is to look back at that same job description and highlight the duties that you can do with accommodations. You identify those accommodations that will allow you to be successful for the qualities or duties that the job description asks for. This is a way that you can demonstrate both the qualities that you have or the things that you can do without accommodations, as well as offering up some of the accommodations that will help you to be the very best that you can be. If you don't have any ideas on what sort of accommodations could help you, please do reach out to your career services consultant or your accessibility counselor for ideas. If you scan this or follow the link, you will come to the list of career services consultants that are here at the college. Identify which program or school that you belong to, and it will let you know exactly who's in charge of supporting your job search efforts for that particular school. If you do have any questions, you can absolutely email me. My name is Rebecca, and my email address is rsummerfield@fanshawc.ca. Best of luck.